In the endless breath of the desert, where silence is a companion and the wind carries secrets from forgotten ages, there rises a soul whose heart is etched with fire and tenderness, a soul known to the people as Fazza. His voice is not just words written on paper. It is the echo of dunes that shift with patience, the cry of falcons that cut through the horizon, the laughter of horses galloping across boundless fields, and the whisper of waves that touch the shores of Dubai with longing. His poetry is not merely an art. It is a life woven into verses, a dream painted in starlight, a mirror that reflects both sorrow and triumph, both solitude and the embrace of love. He writes not for glory already follows his name. He writes because his heart cannot stay silent, because silence would weigh heavier than any crown. The desert knows his steps. The oases know his thirst. The night sky knows his watchful eyes that do not sleep until the stars themselves surrender. Every word that falls from his soul carries the fragrance of sacrifice, of courage, of a man who stands between tradition and the restless tide of the future. He speaks of love not as a fragile flower, but as a falcon that must be tamed with trust, as a horse that must be guided with patience, as a desert that must be crossed with endurance. Love, to him, is a journey without maps, an ocean without anchors, and yet he sails it bravely, offering his heart to the storms and his dreams to the waves. When he speaks of his land, his voice becomes the very rhythm of sandstorms and prayers. Dubai rises in his poetry not as a city of glass and steel, but as a heartbeat of the desert, as a vision crafted by ancestors who endured the sun, the thirst, and the silence. He remembers the pearl divers who risked their lives in the embrace of the sea, the traders who carried hope on their camels across endless sands, the Bedouins whose tents glowed with warmth under the cold night sky. And he weaves their stories into verses so that the world may know Dubai not only by its towers but by the spirit that built them, by the faith that lifted them, by the poetry that crowns them. His heart beats not only for land but for the creatures that share his destiny. Horses, with manes flowing like rivers of fire, are his companions of freedom. He rides them not for sport but for union, as if every gallop takes him closer to the truth hidden between the desert and the sky. Falcons, with eyes sharp as destiny, circle above him, mirrors of his own soul, proud, unyielding, faithful. Camels, patient as time, walk by his side, reminding him of the endurance that shaped his people. Even the sea, which once took and gave life to his ancestors, becomes a character in his poetry. A vast lover who both embraces and challenges, who whispers lullabies and thunders warnings. In the depths of his verses lives the theme of longing, a longing that no crown can ease, a longing that no fame can quench. Under the vast dome of the Arabian sky, where the stars scatter like diamonds spilled from the hand of destiny, the story of a poet unfolds, a man whose name is whispered with reverence and whose verses move like the desert wind across the soul. He is known as Fazza, the rider of endless horizons, the dreamer whose heart is stitched with threads of courage and longing, the prince who wears poetry not as an ornament but as his very breath. His world is not defined only by palaces of glass or crowns of gold, but by the living silence of the desert, by the faithful gallop of horses, by the flight of falcons, and by the ache of love that lingers like perfume in the air long after the beloved has passed. In his poetry, the desert is never silent. It speaks in the shifting dunes that move like waves of time, in the mirages that rise and vanish like unspoken dreams, in the burning sun that teaches endurance, and in the cool nights that cradle the heart in their velvet embrace. He writes of these sands as though they are ancient scrolls upon which the lives of his people have been inscribed, where every grain remembers footsteps of ancestors, and every wind carries the echo of prayers once whispered by Bedouin tribes beneath the stars. Fazza takes these whispers and transforms them into verses, carrying them into the future so that the spirit of his land is never forgotten. But his poetry is not only of sand. It is of the sea that once fed his ancestors with pearls and challenged them with storms. He sees in the ocean both a lover and an adversary, a force that humbles and elevates. He writes of waves that embrace and devour, of ships that leave and never return, of horizons that tempt the heart to wander but also to return. For in every tide he finds a metaphor for love, love that can lift a soul into the heavens or drown it in silence. The sea, to him, is as faithful as longing itself, always returning, always restless, always calling. Horses appear again and again in his verses, for they are not merely animals but companions of freedom. Their gallop is the sound of his heartbeat, their strength the mirror of his spirit. He writes of nights where he rides beneath the moon, feeling the earth tremble beneath hooves that seem to fly. He writes of their loyalty, of the bond that needs no words, of the fire in their eyes that matches the fire of his own destiny. Horses, to him, are poetry in motion, carrying his soul across the vastness of both land and time. Falcons, too, belong to his poetry, those proud hunters of the sky whose wings carve silence into song. He sees himself in their flight, unbound yet loyal, fierce yet tender. He writes of training them, of the patience it requires, of the trust that must be built, of the pride when they return to his hand. For in the falcon he sees love itself, a wild spirit that must be cherished but never caged, respected but never broken. In their soaring he finds the metaphor of his own verses,